Drill 2 holes in the middle of the board, just as far apart as the legs. Use 2 threaded rods cut to the size of the height of the leg. Use a nut and first screw it in to about an inch or little more than that, and then send in the washer. Now that's the nut to be used for the other leg, and then goes in the washer below the nut. Now put this into the drilled hole in the plywood board. And make sure the threaded rod is just pushed in to the bottom of the board. And again here now use a washer first and then the nut and screw it in. Make sure it's tight. Use a spanner, hold the other side of the nut and use a spanner to rotate the nut, and make sure it is really tight enough, otherwise your leg is going to be wobbly. Could use 2 spanners, one to hold the nut on the other side, and use another spanner at the back to make sure you are moving the spanners in the opposite direction, so you know the rod for the leg is quite firm and not wobbly. Repeat the same steps for the other leg as well. Now to fix the base board where the cake is going to be added, you want that base board cut to the shape of the body to be fixed on the leg. To hold that, you need to have support. So send in the nut first screwed down and then have the washer on top of that. And now you should have drilled the hole in the baseboard and pass it through both the rods and make sure it's positioned in such a way that the nut and the washer under that board is holding it in place. And then again on top send washers and then another nut and screw it properly. Make it as close to the washer, and then you have to tighten the nut from the bottom and the top. So that will ensure the baseboard is properly attached to the leg, the threaded rod. Now using 2 spanners to each of the nut, one at the bottom, one at the top is very important. So one of the nut will be held properly in place And so the other spanner would tighten up the other nut on the top. You also should have drilled a hole in the middle of this baseboard through which the rod for the body will be attached. So start screwing down a nut into one end of the threaded rod that was cut to the size of the body, and also attach a washer and then screw down through that middle hole. And you have an extra 1 inch popping down from the baseboard, and then send in the washer first and then start screwing down the nut. And make sure the nut is screwed down and touches the washer at the bottom. Again, use 2 spanners and tighten up both the nuts. And this will ensure the center structure is quite stable and tall, and it doesn't slant or become wobbly. So always hold one of the nut with a spanner and use another spanner to tighten up. You have the structure properly built. The legs are secured to the bottom board, and then you have the center rod also fixed.